blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Hello, and welcome to According to Courtney. I'm Courtney West. I am a full spectrum doula, birth nerd, doula mentor, and all around birthy person. Today, welcome to According to Courtney. If this is your first time here, over here we talk about everything about how to fill your cup, Black birth education, different things all the time. And this week we're coming into Black Breastfeeding Week, and which brings up the subject of Black maternal health and how everything ties into each other. And today I really wanted to sit down and have this type of conversation about what is Black maternal health, because recently I was asked this question about what is Black maternal health and why does it matter? And then it was in the space of why should this matter to me? And I feel like this is a very triggering subject, because as a Black person, to hear that can really do something to you, because it's like, what do you mean? Why does our history matter? So I wanted to have a deep dive conversation about this, and I am happy to have one of my returning guests, one of my favorite guests, Doc Lex, to go over this information with me. Hi, so good to have you in this space.
You as well. Thanks for having me again.
Yes. If you're a new member, I want to introduce you to Miss Alexis Wood Barr, PhD, aka Doc Lex. Doc Lex, can you give us a little synopsis about who you are?
Heck yeah. So I am Doc Lex. I am really the creator of Titties Out Wisdom In. And so this is a platform where I want culture and colostrum to collide, right? I want wisdom to flow freely. And so I use storytelling and humor and all these things, evidence-based education, to reimagine how we share information about breastfeeding with those in our community and those who aren't in our community, if they're around to stick around and learn. But this is basically for my people, okay? I want to normalize breastfeeding and celebrate the intergenerational knowledge, right?
Yes.
It's unapologetic truth and love, in my opinion.
I love that. Doc Lex has been on our show before talking about, Black breastfeeding and the history of where this has come from and what a rich history we have. So today I wanted to come and, when you and I had a conversation off camera about this subject, and we've talked about this subject multiple times, especially when it comes to academia or dealing with people outside of our culture and how they view our history. So I want to bring those powerful conversations here in the space. So for you, Doc Lex, in your words and with your expertise, what is Black maternal health and where did it come from?
Okay. So Black maternal health is deeply rooted in the legacy of slavery, right? And systemic racism, both, right? And so during slavery, I'll just give you a little background, okay? So that we're all on the same page. During slavery, Black women were devalued, and they were only valuable for their reproductive capacity, right? As well as their ability to work in the fields. And so they also didn't have medical care.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. They were being subjected to experimentation. Remember the jerk? Call her Jerk Marion Sims,
And
not J.
so,
Marion.
and let's give some little profile for this because I always do this because there's sometimes I won't even say his name.
I
This
agree.
is in the history of how it is portrayed as they call him the father of gynecology.
Yes, ma'am.
So the gynecological care that you get today was done off of black
Body.
bodies. So,
Hmm.
and for us, he is not the father of anything
Never.
except for the father of horrors.
Hello. To,
So,
to, to
yeah,
me, it's like saying, it's like calling a person who is an arsonist the father of fire safety,
absolutely.
right? Yeah, we learned some stuff, but at what cost?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous that he still has statues erected.
But no one until very recently knew about the women
Yeah.
that he did these experiments on. And
Hmm.
let me preface this of saying that this subject today is very graphic. It will be very triggering for you because it's very triggering for us to even have to go into these topics. So I
Hmm.
suggest today, when you're sipping your tea and gaining your knowledge today, be very gentle with yourself on these topics. I will not say if it makes you uncomfortable, turn away because you need to be uncomfortable
Right.
because we live with the discomfort. You can handle it for a little bit,
Just for a couple minutes.
couple
Yeah.
minutes of
Yeah.
discomfort.
You'll go back to normal life soon.
Right. So, Doc Lex, if you could you go into what this this person, we'll put it like that,
Mhm.
did and what knowledge he gained and at what cost?
Well, absolutely. So J. Marion Sims, he operated on more, he did more than 30 operations on Black women who were enslaved. And so this was against their will, of course, and they had no say in the matter. Plus, he did it without anesthesia.
Hmm. I
And
want
so,
to sit with that for a minute,
mhm,
not to cut
yeah,
you off. So, for the women out there who have had C sections,
come on.
for the women out there who have had prolapsed uteruses,
Mhm,
had
mhm,
fistulas, anything that has been surgically operated in your vagina, in that part of you, or have had rips and tears during birth and
mhm.
how that feels. And then the thing that is always offered to you is what? Medication,
That's right.
the offer of meds. So I want you to sit with that. So those extremely painful surgeries you've been with, you were done to these enslaved black women with
Mhm.
no medication,
No anesthesia.
no anesthesia at all,
Hmm.
just to be strapped to a table.
Right. Yeah. And then at some points, there were other enslaved women who were forced to hold down the woman who was being operated on. Imagine the fear, the terror, the post traumatic stress that comes along with just that, knowing that you're going to be next, but now you have to hold down your fellow enslaved woman while she gets operated on so that we can get some of these medical advances.
Mhm. And what does that do to a person?
That's it.
Even when you have to think about these same women still had to care for each other while they're going through these horrors. It's like I had to help in your dismemberment
Hmm. Hmm.
and try to
Yep.
heal you, knowing I'm going to be dismembered next, and that is your connection. That
Hmm.
this horror is going to happen to me, and it's going to happen to you, but all we have is each other, and it's
Hmm.
not going to stop.
No, no, we can't stop it because the law isn't on our side, right?
Mhm.
Our bodies are devalued, our voices don't matter, and we have to suffer in silence. And if you think about, when we think about the medical advancements, the speculum,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Right? It was perfected through forced examination on Black bodies. There's
Yes.
also C sections, as you talked about, was refined using Black bodies without anesthesia, without their consent. There is also, we now understand a lot of pregnancy related complications because of Black women,
Mhm.
right? Because of their suffering in silence for science. Get out of here. That pisses me off. Like, it makes me so freaking mad that we're going to get to this topic, I know, about the disconnect between American history and Black history. But the backs prosperity in America, the things, advancements in America, they were all done on the backs of Black people, slave
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Black history is American history. We will get there, but we got to insert it right here because it's just
Absolutely.
it's a point of contention. Like, we need to know our history is American history.
Correct. And I think it's a big disconnect because how it's not taught. It's not taught because it makes people who outside of our culture uncomfortable because that's the minutes of what happened. And they're like, well, I didn't know that, but have you ever looked? And most things in this country, especially if you're living in the South, the prosperities that have come here are from us, like going into enslavement. When it came to there was not medical services that were given in the Western standard yet. What you got, you may get a doctor once in a while. The midwives did it. They brought their knowledge. They birthed not just Black enslaved Black people. They birthed everyone. That was the most valuable person you could have on your plantation because you could do the gift of life, and you weren't just a midwife. You were the healer, you were the doctor, you made the medicines, you did all of that. So it's very insulting and disturbing to me how devalued we are seen, but you wouldn't be here without our ancestors and their knowledge to care for you.
Right.
And the horrors that are happening to you and these women, because what you said a lot when you were talking about the trauma, the PTSD, and that having no voice, having no say, everything else, aren't all those the same things that are still happening now to us because it has been inherently passed down for generation of trauma, fear, and hatred that is done, that you have no voice, you have no say. This is what you're supposed to do. And that majority of people just accept that this because it has been so from the birth of America, that this is what you're worth. This is what you are, and their contents is to be hurt and to be trauma. And we always say in silence. We're never silent, just nobody listens.
No one's listening. Yeah.
No one listens.
Yeah.
No one listens.
At some point, maybe in our conversation today, I'd like to talk about the history of hospital births, because that gives us more of a clarity on granny midwives and Black midwives and their importance to Black traditions and to our safety and to our ability to live past labor.
Yes, I think this is a good transition because I've mentioned how the grand midwives and what does a grand midwife mean? Grand midwives is our honor and respect for the midwives who had that knowledge and passed it on and literally, birth states and counties and did these things, and how important they were to the community. And when we transitioned from that, when white males realized the money and the benefit that comes from birth, they now said that these grand midwives, by degrading them and calling them granny midwives, because they felt they were unskilled.
That's right.
They felt that they were dirty, and that's what the propaganda they put out to transfer people to the hospital. Yet it is very interesting that grand midwives their birth rates were successful compared to when they went to the hospitals. Black bodies, people, period, were dying at a higher rate. What was done to them was horrifically. Birth was turned into this experience of what the body can do to this horrific, torturous work inside the hospital. Doc Lex, I'm going to slide that to you. Please inform these people. What was early hospital birth like for Black people?
All right, here we go. So, birth in hospitals in general is a very new norm, right? Within the last 100 years or so. So, here we go. Most births were happening at the house, right? Back in the 1920s, early 1900s, 95% of births were happening in the home with midwives, doctors who did house calls, and female relatives, right, who were attending the birth. Then we get to 1920 when there starts to be a shift. more births are happening in hospitals now. But of 1940, about 55% of births were happening in hospitals. But there's a mass there in the disparity because these weren't all women, these were white, urban, middle class women. Okay.
Yes.
And so they were the ones experiencing births in hospitals at that time. So rural women and Black women, no matter where you lived, you did not have the ability to birth in a hospital, which was quite all right because, like you're saying, Black women still lived past their birth, right?
Right.
They were still living and had better outcomes. And so in 1950, about 88% of births happened in the hospitals. And then 1960s, it shot up to about 95%. Again, who was left out? We got to think about who's left out in this number. Black women from the South. Okay? And so this is because of they didn't have access to hospitals because of segregation, right? And hospitals refused to help or to admit Black patients.
Yes.
And if they did admit them, they went down to the basement, right?
Absolutely.
Where there was substandard care. So think about it. 1920s on, white women have been in the hospitals having birth. Black women have not. Not until about 1960. So my mom was born in 65, and she was the first child of my grandmother to be born in a hospital. My mom is number 7 in the lineup. Okay. So it wasn't until the 60s that Black women started having the ability, right? Think about even the way they're even like framing it, to give birth in a hospital. So we think about grand midwives. This tradition was so powerful for Black communities for so much longer because we were excluded from hospitals.
Absolutely.
Right? And that was a good thing for us. That was very good for us, even though they tried to spin it as, birthing in the hospital is more modern, right?
Right.
Right, because that's what you're getting to when you're talking about how doctors started to degrade grand midwives, right?
Absolutely.
And to serve in their communities. So back in the 1920s to 1970s, state health departments, they started to systematically in the South eliminate Black midwives.
Yes.
Right, and so this was they did this 3 different ways through restricting licensing, right? Requirements, age limit requirements.
Yes.
You're too old now to attend a birth. And finally, training mandates. And these were all things that a lot of midwives just couldn't meet. These are standards they couldn't meet. So they eventually got moved out of the way, right? And being replaced with doctors and hospitals. And so I'll give you an example. From 1940 in Alabama, there were about 3,000 Black midwives. In 1970, guess what the number was, sis?
Probably less than a handful, less than 12.
Less than 200 Black midwives existed in Alabama.
And that doesn't surprise me because until very recently, midwifery was banned and from doing it. So most states in the South that people aren't aware of with midwives, they were given a certification, okay? Unlike in Florida where you were getting a license. So because of that certification, they can say, oh, you cannot recertify. So even though a lot of midwives did do the criteria, a lot of them did do it. Some of them who couldn't meet it, like this is just too much, they just gave up with it. But many of them did do everything that was asked of them. And then their certifications like, oh, we're not going to renew you. Because they knew the knowledge. They're like, we'll do it. That's fine. We'll take your classes. We'll do the things. Florida A&M, actually, FAMU was known for their midwifery program. People flocked to go there so you could get the licensure. But when people came and they went back to their different states,
they wouldn't accept it.
It was gone. They didn't have to you can't recertify. And so I want to talk to the trauma that does. So we went from having these babies at home in the sunshine, where in your community, where you are celebrated, your community comes and brings you food, they love on you, they want to see your baby, to giving birth in a dark basement with subpar care. So keep in mind what is in the basement. What do you also keep in the basement? You have rats. You usually keep your corpses where? In the basement. So
Yeah.
what does that do to a person that you are come from a history of beautiful, healthy births to now be birthing in a basement,
Yeah.
in the dark, in the rank, with subpar care by people who don't value you or see you as worthy, and but feel like you this is a privilege that you don't
Mhm.
deserve to even be here. But if I'm going to put you here, I'm going to make it the most uncomfortable and as traumatic as possible.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And so if we look at some of the numbers now, so back then it's about 50% of midwives were black, right? And
Hmm.
in the South, about 75% was black.
Right.
Now, less than 5%, 7%, I believe, of midwives identify as black.
Yeah.
That's about 1,000 people out of 14,000 midwives in America.
Mhm.
Tell me how that lines up. And then we think about the health and the wellness of the black woman and the baby.
So that's a very interesting story. So when obstetrics kicked in and that they took this over, what was
Mhm.
happening is that birthing overall was traumatic in the hospital. And then so white women were like, we are going to go the traditional right and take on the traditional thoughts of what birth are. And then we're going to monopolize it and say it is done so under our white standards. Many times for black women who wanted to go in programs became segregated. So was that unless you had the traditions passed down to you, say, okay, I want to go become a midwife,
Mhm.
you couldn't. I know one of the schools here, Gainesville it has a midwifery program. My own grandmother went and was going to apply and to go into the program, and they said, "Oh no, we don't take black people."
Mhm.
And so she went into nursing. And so
Mhm.
that was like we were funneled out of the spaces. And then now, when you're trying to be in them, unless you're very blessed to be in a school like Common Sense, which is run by a Black woman, Jenny Joseph, you are
Mhm.
in spaces that have that same traditional thought and,
Yeah.
and ingrained racism that is that conqueror mentality of
Mhm.
this is mine now.
Oh yeah,
This
I
is
own it.
mine. I
Mhm.
own it and you don't deserve it because I look at you as subpar. Your granny midwives were dirty and they're the reason why we're here now. Because the history has not been told correctly or has been told under a lens of complete insulting racism. And so white women and white midwives in that space at the time, and some still feel that way. It's like we hold this
Mhm.
belongs to us. And if
That's right.
we're here, we're going to make this very painful for you. So say you're going through the midwifery process, many
Mhm.
don't make it because you have to be you cannot work. You are on call for these midwives. And a
Mhm.
lot of times it can be very abusive that
Yeah.
the black midwives are misused, they're mistreated, they're overworked, and you're not paid, and
Mhm.
it does something to them, and they become so damaged they can't finish.
Get jaded. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's where we are now. So that's why it's so important to have black midwives and have
Mhm.
these people in space because this is what I tell people, we not new to this, we true to this. This is not new. We are not TikTok sensations of, oh my God, this just popped up. This is ancestral. This is what we have done. We have birthed
Mhm.
the nation. And why is this important? Is because of the history of it. So we have gone through antebellum period, slavery, we're into the hospitals, we're giving birth in the basements.
Mhm.
How do we now what is happening now with the history that is
Mhm.
showing how are we birthing in the hospital. So now we're here. We're in here. And
Mhm.
at this time, so we're in the 70s, 80s. How many births are
Mhm.
happening in the hospital at this time?
Oh, over 90%.
Okay. So 90% of births are in the hospital
Mhm.
now. How
Mhm.
are our numbers and how are we faring? Because we're in the
All right.
basement. We're moving up, I guess, from out of the basement. What do our numbers look like?
Well, can I give you? I can answer that with an example, actually.
All
Think
right.
of Henrietta Lacks. Do you remember Henrietta Lacks?
Give us
I
give
can,
give me a little
no
bit of
problem.
it.
I can give you absolutely give you a history. So essentially, Henrietta Lacks was a woman. She was poor, and she had 5 children, right? And she went to the hospital, which was John Hopkins, which at the time was one of the only hospitals that were allowing or admitting Black people, but only in the basement, of course.
Right.
Yeah. not too great of care, but we're going to give her some. So they did a biopsy on her because she was having pain. Found out she had uterine cancer for the most part. And so they did a biopsy and took some of her cells. Well, no matter who the cells came from, every time they did a biopsy, they would always send it to this guy named, he was a doctor, Dr. Gregory Guy, Gey. And so he would take the cells and try to do experiments on them just to try to understand cancer. But what was happening was every time he would get cells, they would die, right? Henrietta Lacks, her cells doubled in 24 hours. That was unseen. It was unheard of. And so from that point in the 50s all the way to this point now, every single lab you have ever seen, will ever see, has Henrietta Lacks' cells. They're called HeLa cells. Okay? And so HeLa cells have been used for polio vaccines, has been used for COVID vaccines, has been used for just about every medical advancement that we've had since the 50s has been done from her cells. Okay, that's how we're doing. We're being used. We are being commodified because her cells are worth billions of dollars. Billions, sis. And her family has died in poverty.
Of course.
She has 5 children. She had 5 children. Every single last one of them died in poverty. Right? Her family still lives in poverty to this day. And no one bats an eye at that part. We are still being done the very same way, maybe not to the extent of Henrietta Lacks, but in the hospitals, we are still dying. We are still not being heard. We are still, they like to say, oh, income and education, that's your way out of disparities. Not for Black people.
Not at all.
Not for Black
at
people.
all. Isn't it more likely for us to die if you have an education? If you're an educated, college-educated Black woman, it's more likely that you will die compared to a non-educated white girl who may not even have a high school diploma.
Who didn't graduate high school.
No.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. And so that is because there's, in my opinion, there's more access to racism when you're in higher educated spaces.
Yes.
Right? There's more microaggressions. Right? We're still looked at as aggressive when we speak out. Right? And so we're going to talk about stigmas, but there are so many stigmas as it relates to Black maternal health. It's not even funny.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like when you try to have the conversation about, say, hey, let's talk about Black maternal health, you always see the turnip snare. Why? We're still talking about this?
Exactly. We're not done with that yet. We had a Black president.
Right. Aren't you people satisfied? And my look is always the same. I was like, if white women had the history that we did, and their bodies were used as the vessels to create history, to create medical advancements, they would be rioting in the streets. Yet, let me bring that, since I mentioned riot. Let's also think about this though, because for white women's rights, because we have to say white women's rights, because when it was women's rights, it wasn't our rights because we were not seen as women at that time. But for any women's right issue that white women has leaned into, it is always Black women who get it done for them. We rally. We come into it. We see each other, and then in those moments, now we are sisters. We are sisters in the fight. But when it comes to our bodies, our issues, those are Black people issues. They ain't my problem. And to me, to be in this day and age that this is still a thing, it's like, for real? You just said that to me? You really sat your mouth up here and said to me, well, that's a Black issue? How does this affect me?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the history and the fact that we are everything
Mm-hmm.
because of us. You're
Mm-hmm.
here to walk, to move. Our cells are in your body. Our milk from breastfeeding, which we jumped from that. Let me let you put that piece in there. So at the beginning of times of enslavement and everything else, when it came to feeding children, especially the master's children, who did it? Who did that
Well,
work?
there were enslaved women who were commissioned to do that, right?
Mhm.
They could not nurture, nurse their own babies because if they did, the milk that was in their breast would be gone for the master's baby, right? So they couldn't do it. So they had to feed their baby with what was called like pap and brewer, think about cornbread and pot liquor,
Yep.
right? Like this is what our babies were being fed 2 days old, 5 days old, a couple months old, right? Just in order to sustain them. When in fact, Black women had to feed their master's baby. And that was it. There was no questions. There was no going back and forth. Let's negotiate. Nah.
And I want that to sit that. And I say that to bring it all the way back to now is that what nourishes your body is the DNA that runs through you. What made you thrive is us. So it's not so much of this is your history and your problem. We are you and you are us.
Mm-hmm.
We nourish you, move you, that you can birth the way that you do, even to be able to rah and throw your fist up. It's us who have laid the groundwork
Mm-hmm.
for you to be able to walk, to be able to crawl,
Right.
and then step over us again to be able to walk, and then to step over us again to be able to stand.
Mm-hmm.
So on this part, we're at midpoint because when we come back, we're going to talk about the whole history of the Black American history is what?
American.
History. And we're going to go through the weavings of and try to help these other cultures and non-melanated people who, and I'm gonna take that back. I'm going to assist people who are not Black Americans to understand this because I've also had this conversation with melanated people from the islands and other countries who still do not understand what we go through. So we're gonna help people out to understand why this is American culture and American history.
Sounds good.
Indeed. Great stuff, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to play a song by the Songbird Raven, and this is called You Are the Goat. Check it out.
Change my space, gave me room to proclaim your mercy and grace. You are the number one, numero uno. You are the greatest, you are the goat. All you done with all my heart I'll stand tall with my hands raised. It's a mission to the heart I'll stand tall.
And that is our girl songbird Raven with You Are the GOAT. And if you are an independent artist or a spoken word poet or an up and coming comedian looking for some exposure, you can go to blastmusic247.com and register for free. But Blast is also looking for the fans. So if you're a fan of great music, you too can register at blastmusic247.com, register as an unlimited fan, and have access to independent music. Blast, we are constantly changing the industry one artist at a time. All right, ladies, back to you.
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. If you guys are just joining us on According to Courtney, I'm Courtney West. I'm a full spectrum doula, and we have the amazing Alexis Wood Barr, PhD, aka Doc Lex, with us here today. And we are discussing the history of Black maternal health. And we have gone through the very winding, very in-depth history from the antebellum enslaved period into the 1920s, where we transitioned from us giving birth, people giving birth in from at home to the hospital, to the 60s and 70s, where we were integrated into the hospital as Black people because we were not welcome to give birth in the hospital, and we were integrated into the basements to get subpar care and to have trauma. And so we've dived back and forth about what our bodies have given to medical history and science.
Mhm.
And when we left, we were going to come back to how is the understanding of Black history is American history. And it surprises me so much when you talk about our history.
Mhm.
Our pieces of the history are omitted
Mhm.
or very watered down, so that it was made that it's just not true. Like many books, textbooks here in Florida, especially hell, say that that make enslavement sound more like indentured servitude. So for people who do not know, the difference is enslavement is that you have no choice. You are
Mhm.
enslaved, you are not paid, you are worked, and you are looked at as someone's property.
Mhm.
Versus indentured servitude, it means that you are working to a certain period of time. There's payment involved in it, and then there's an out. You're there, you get to get out.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times, if you did do indentured servitude, not only were you let out, you were given land
Mhm.
and had an opportunity to make money afterwards. And the two cannot be interchanged because there is no say so to it, even in indentured servants, because many Irish came over as indentured servants, because I get this argument a lot, like we were slaves too. All right, you were indentured servants, that you were indentured to do work, and therefore then you were able to pay off your debts and
Compensated.
then
Mhm.
get gains after the fact.
Right.
Versus in slavery, we were beaten, raped, abused, and
Mhm.
then left with nothing
Right.
afterwards. After the Civil War is over, it's like, okay, all y'all are free. We're
It's
giving you
fine.
nothing. You
Mhm.
can go.
Mhm.
You can go. So this all brings me into, passing this to you. So can you please explain to people
Mhm.
how Black American history and American history are the same thing?
Yeah, you can't have one without the other, unfortunately.
Yep.
So basically, this debate really reveals this fundamental misunderstanding,
Hmm.
right, about American identity and American history as it relates to Black people. And
Hmm.
so there's a few different arguments that I think are important for us to like go through and understand as to why people try to make this disconnect between
Hmm.
the two, right? And so essentially, people tend to forget about the integration argument. So they act like Black history was happening parallel to American history
Right. Which makes
without,
no sense. Makes no sense.
right, to like this real American history. It is not. It's woven into every single American development that we have to this day.
Hmm.
Okay? So simply, you can't have American history without Black history. And so I wrote this down. I think this is so profound that we have been central to building defending and protecting this nation since day one.
Yes.
And these are not Black stories. These are American stories with Black protagonists. Okay?
Mhm.
So we are the issue. We are the ones that were in the storyline that were being the mistreated ones, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And so we have wealth in America, 246 years of free labor, right? Off the backs of Black people. We have
Yes.
culture that we have given to America: jazz, hip hop, blues, country, right? Rock and roll. All of these things have been able to be exported from America because of Black people.
And I want
Democracy.
you to mention those again for the ones in the back, because you know we
Back
love to hear this thing about country music right now. Say that again. For what did Black Americans give to America again?
culturally, we gave them jazz music, rock and roll, hip hop, country, blues, all of these things. Country. Let's go back to country because I know a lot of people didn't want Beyonce to be on that stage, but you know what I mean. A lot of people they like to forget that this is a Black contribution to America. Okay, we have democracy has been expanded. You talk about the civil rights movement and all these woman-led initiatives and stuff. We help expand democracy. We help to innovate America. Traffic lights. What about the refrigeration, blood banks, all of these things, many, many more that Black people have contributed to American modern life, right? The military. My husband's a military service member, but in the military, we served. But beyond that, there are some maternal mental health, maternal uh, additions as well, contributions as
Mhm.
well, right? Medical advancements. So we talked about gynecology and obstetrics, of course. Hey, Joy.
She's like, Thank you. My earphones are in. Please don't mind my child with the bonnet
no,
on.
it's, no, she's
She's,
hi to the people.
I love it. She's just like, my friends are at the door. I'm like,
Oh, let her do it, y'all.
you know,
This is
always
real life for us, okay?
really
We're
for
really
real,
out here.
because we keep it like we might be professionals. We're doing everything. We're talking about our histories, but
Yeah, this
you
is
know,
this is life when people come and talk with you
right? It's like we're still moms. At the end of
all
the
day
day,
long.
all
If mine
day.
comes in here, I'm gonna stop and talk to her, and I love all of y'all, but that's what I'm gonna do.
Right. And as you should. So
Yeah,
we're talking about the cultural brings to it, and then we're back to the medical. And you've mentioned from
yeah.
cells to
Cells, right? Birth control
gyne.
testing.
Right.
Let's go there for a moment, right?
Let's touch
Puerto,
there.
Puerto Rican and Black women were unknowingly test subjects for these dangerous versions of the birth control pill.
Mhm,
I bet people didn't know that.
mhm, mhm.
Also, we talk about Henrietta Lacks, and then we think about obstetric knowledge. And so much of what we know about pregnancy related complications, of course, came from Black women and their
Yes.
bodies, right?
Yes.
And then we think about how medical schools, like you talked about, they often omit a lot of the history in their textbooks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in their textbooks, when it comes to different cultures, when it comes to Black women, we are naturally loud, we're naturally dramatic. So it's okay to ignore us
That's a
and to not take our seriously. How do I know? Because
concern.
I'm a nurse. And
Hmm.
when we read this as women, because the nursing students who were in there, we were Black and we were mothers, we're like, hey, y'all are really teaching this?
This is
And
wrong.
it even says to give more care and to be more gentle and offer medication first to white women.
Yeah,
And that Black women, we don't feel pain the same.
that's
So it
right.
is okay to give us less amount of medication, and that we are drug seekers. So it's a constant contradiction. So it's like, wait a minute. We can
Do we or not?
handle large amounts of pain, yet we are drug seekers. So you should not
Mm-hmm.
take us seriously, and we're naturally
Yep.
just being loud. So it's like, oh, and this is still being taught till this day.
To this day.
Till this day.
In 2016, I believe I wrote it down. 2016, there was a study that was done with medical students, and over half of those medical students believed that Black people experience pain differently, and that our skin was tougher. The heck does that mean? Thicker.
Let's talk about that. The
Okay.
tougher, thicker skin means that when you're administering medication
Yeah.
through injection, that you must go deeper
Yes.
into black skin to cause more, to make sure that it's effective, which in turn means it to cause more pain. Remember now, we've moved black people into the hospital setting where people felt like it was a privilege you to be there, but we're going to make it the most as comfortable as possible. So it's
Right.
okay for me to do it because your skin is thicker. I'm helping you.
Yeah. I know. I know better than you do.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And if you cry out, you're just being dramatic. It shouldn't
hmm
hurt that badly because your skin's thicker. This is just what
yeah,
you
it's
do.
okay. Absolutely.
And I think that thick skin thought process covers a lot when it comes to history. In
Hmm.
American history, is that the black people have thicker skin. You're okay. It's tough. It's okay for me not to put you into the fold because
Hmm.
you can handle it.
Right. That's it.
And that's just that. And I love how many instances you've mentioned what we have given and in this medical space. I know one thing we're talking about when it's coming to medical pieces, the Tuskegee
Tuskegee.
project.
Yes, ma'am. Let's talk about it.
And yeah, let's dive in that a little bit because I want to give people a full realm understanding of
Hmm.
why our history
Hmm.
is your history and is American history. Let's talk about that project.
So essentially, for 40 years, Black men were lied to,
Mhm.
right? And told that they're about treatment. So essentially, for syphilis, to treat it, you needed penicillin.
Mhm.
Penicillin had been around, but what they were doing was experimenting.
Yes.
Right? So if I don't give it to this person, or if I give it at this dosage, what happens?
Right.
Do they still have it? Do they not? And so for 40 years, these families were literally ripped apart because the men in their families were dying, literally dying because of a preventable, have we not been saying this forever?
Mhm.
Preventable diseases, preventable treatment. They could have gotten the treatment and they could have lived. But because of it, now think about why do you think Black people mistrust the medical system?
Yes. It's been proven over and over
Over
again. And here's
over.
the sad part. These people thought they were getting treated. These
Sure
men
did. Yeah, they did.
thought they were going to get these treatments by doing these fasts, by working out, by taking these shots, that they were treating the issue of syphilis so that they were not bringing it to their families.
Hmm.
They were not aware that they were experiment on, and the long game was to never treat them so that they can look at their organs after the fact. So let's sit with that. I am waiting for you to die. I'm going to traumatize you. I'm going to lie to you. I'm going to make you as sick as I can so I
Hmm.
can look at your insides afterwards. This is for medical history and science.
Yeah. So I'll do you one better. I just learned this because I just went through postpartum doula training, and I learned that a placenta,
Mhm.
thing that we all carry with us when we're carrying a baby, once delivered, what happens to it? Do you know? Typically,
So typically they will take it and they'll say, we're going to throw this away. You can't take it with you. And then I've known that they take placentas and use them as stem cells.
exactly.
And they're paid billions of dollars
That
for
part.
these
That's what I'm trying to get
placentas.
to. That's right.
Billions of dollars for these placentas.
That's
And
right.
this is why I tell my clients, no, you're going to take your placenta home. And
You
they
request
will
it. You better
ask,
request it.
yes, they're like, well, what are you using it for? And I was like, it doesn't matter. Because if you try to do placenta encapsulation, they're like, that there is so many risks to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're like, well, your placenta looks off. We need to send it off to the lab to
Mm-hmm.
have it evaluated.
Do we trust
AKA
that?
they're gonna take your to evaluate it, like we spoke about earlier, they're gonna take your what? Your cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
That's
gonna
all
take your
it is.
cells.
That's all it is. It is to help advance more medical things, right? That is the reason. And from my understanding, a placenta can be like $50,000
Per. And think about
per
a hospital setting where you're having hundreds of births a day.
a year. Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
day.
Many a day. Absolutely, absolutely. What is really happening to that
Mhm,
organ?
mhm. Now, there's many people are not aware that with placentas, there's many skincare products that are made out of
That too.
placenta.
That's right. I learned that too.
And there's a lot of things that are done with the placenta besides the stem cells. So the stem cells from it are magical. And there is groups of people who will try to get Black women pregnant and harness their placentas for skincare products because it's worth millions and millions of dollars of business. This is $1 million business of
Yeah.
skincare using these placentas. So,
Mhm.
the body has been just abused so much, especially Black bodies and black placentas,
Mhm.
and the thought and belief that our bodies are stronger, that we
Yeah.
have other properties to them. They want those ones at a higher cost.
Mm.
And what does that do to a person? Hey, you're not worth anything. You're not worth saving, but
Yeah.
your organs are worth more to me. You're worth more to
Happy.
me alive than dead. And if I do
Mhm.
have you, I'm going to harm you. So, but a lot of people should be aware of by this time, but hey, we doing
Maybe
what we
not.
do about the C-section rates.
Mhm.
Now, before we went into the hospital, how were C-section rates? Did they really
I didn't know
exist?
that even existed. Right.
Ah,
Right.
correct.
Mhm.
But what are the C-section rates majority for? Who has the highest rate of
Black
C-sections?
women.
Okay. Who is 4 times more likely to die or have trauma from giving birth?
Black women.
Black women. So all of this is to say all this to tie into this, that all this trauma that has happened, everything that we have endured is
Mhm.
all at the gain of America. So what makes America great? So when people say I want to make America great again, it was made
What are they
great in the
talking
first
about?
place is by, so like this is why this is important. It's like we want to make America great again. Well, to build
Right.
America to be great and be what it was on the backs and not the throats and not the bodies of
Um,
us. So
um,
we are your history. We are what made it great again. But to get to that point was to do extreme harm
Can
to
I add?
us.
Can I add one more monkey wrench to this?
Throw some more at it. We got time today.
One more, maybe more, but for now, just one more. If we think about the transition from home to hospital births, what else happened during that time? What went down as a result? Breastfeeding rates,
Oh
right?
yes.
Let's think about it. They're all they're I mean, you can lay them right on top of each other and you can see all the similarities. So women, black women who were forced into hospitals
Hmm.
to have substandard care,
Hmm.
to their life not even being prioritized, right,
Hmm.
are also now experiencing, if not from slavery times, also from when they were forced to go into hospitals. Formula companies saw cha-ching, right?
Hmm.
Think about pet milk. Think about
Yep.
carnation milk, right? They were advertised to black communities as a safe alternative to breastfeeding because they knew black women went to work sooner,
Yep.
which means, and they also were in jobs that made breastfeeding incredibly difficult because they were
Yes.
separated from their babies.
Yes.
So now let us market to these black communities that is this similar to donating plasma? Girl, listen, that's a whole.
Ooh,
Sis,
so
Michelle, sis,
yeah. So okay. So
can
let's
we get
let's
back to that? But
we coming back to
let's
that.
come
We
back. So
we
let's go
coming to
back to
that.
plasma. But essentially, what was happening was formula companies certainly aggressively targeted black people. And then not just with the pet milk and the carnation milk, it went over into commercialized formula, right? And so essentially, all of that coincided with the decrease of breastfeeding rates. Now, black women are dying at higher rates because of cancers that could have been, the risk could have been reduced with breastfeeding.
Yep.
Babies are dying from SIDS and all these things, health, immune issues, and all of that because the lack of breastfeeding, right, or the
Mhm.
lower rates of breastfeeding. And so we have to see that a lot of crap happened to Black women and to Black communities all at the very same time. It just never ended. I can't even say at the same time. It never ended
It
since we
just
got
it
this
kept
perpetual.
it just kept going. And I want to add to that what you were talking about, because what that is, when it comes to these melts and formulas, the peptides in the milk are not the same as
Never.
matches for the genetics for the
No,
baby.
a
It has been
human.
proven those the materials that are in those types of formulas are contraindicated to the genetic makeup of our babies in our bodies. So therefore, we are already having preterm labors. We're already having small birth weights, but then you're putting in formulas to these babies that our bodies are going to reject. So
Every.
one of the highest issues that we see as a pediatric nurse with Black children is lung development for being from preterm
Mhm.
babies and GI issues that these children end up with. G tubes. And then with those G tubes, they still are using these peptide milks and formulas that are making these kids not be able to gain weight,
Mhm.
severely sick, and ill. So this is not by coincidence. This is by design. It is designed to be done this way. All
Absolutely.
as you say, perpetually. Well, let's add, let's add, let's add, let's
What
add,
else
let's
can we
add.
do? What else can we? I think this is what I think happens in a closed room. There's some people that's like, how else can we screw up Black people to see their strength, to see their resilience, to see
Yes.
how well they come back? That is ridiculous.
Yeah, to see how tough skinned they are. It's like it's the skin in the game, and it is real like that. And
Hmm.
people are like, oh, that's just it's a coincidence. No, 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 no. This is history, over and over and over again. Let's talk about this. Like, what is it? Bill Gates is starting out a new type of birth control that he's taking over to Africa and inserting in these chips into these women
To test
to
it.
monitor them. Now, let's
Mhm.
keep in mind, Bill Gates has done what he does, but he's not a medical professional. He's
Nope.
not a gynecologist, anything like that. Where else in the world would you think you can do that? Because now in America, we are like, hold on, wait a minute,
Mhm.
because it's still happening to us over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still the new but they dressed up differently through Medicaid. They'll
Mm.
say, okay, we want to give you this new type of birth control that goes in your arm or goes into your uterus.
Mhm.
Now, they may not tell you, okay, it's covered in copper. Do you have a copper allergy? Do you do things? Or when they give this to you, you think it's just birth control, when really what it's meant is sterilization.
Yep. For
How do I?
sterilization.
It's sterilization. How do I know? Because it happened to me. I became sterilized at
I'm so sorry, sis.
28 without my knowledge because I said I wanted something that'll last for about 5 years. What about this? They're like, oh no, this is fine. This is fine. And it's free because you have Medicaid.
Mm.
From that free
Free never means
medication.
free, sis.
Nothing's ever free. I've spent over $20,000 of over surgeries to then have my fallopian tubes removed and then for my body to have a reaction to it because after getting a new gynecologist, it's like, why didn't anyone ever test you? Because you were so sensitive to things for a test of allergies. I was like, I don't know. He's like, yeah, a lot of women, especially Black women, are allergic to the products that are in this. Because I said, well, that's interesting. The other gynecologist says they've never seen this happen. He's like, oh, well, I've taken quite a few of these out because of what it does and what it makes your body do through trauma. He's like, my body, when it heals, it hinges.
Mm.
So uteruses are growing to the back of your pelvic wall through to the chemicals that are in these products.
Mhm.
Nothing is happens by accident. And it
Yeah.
was
No,
designed to be this way.
yeah. No, I agree.
But
Mhm.
that's the history. So now that they have this knowledge and this history that this happens to this group of people, they can change it
Mhm. Mm. Tweak it.
so it
Mhm.
affects other people. So that's still us giving to the history
Mhm.
and giving to this great American diaspora of thought
Mhm.
that is here.
Yeah.
But Lex, we went really, really deep today and very heavy.
Don't forget Michelle's comment about the plastic.
Oh, plasma. Yes, let's talk about plasma. Okay. So when you're giving plasma, you signed a waiver and you're given this little bit of money saying that you're doing this to accept and help people make medicine. So what a
Mm.
lot of people don't know is that you're paid $25, $50 for your
Nothing. Mhm.
plasma
Mhm.
to a million billion dollar
Industry.
country, I mean
Mhm.
industry. I
Mhm.
worked in plasma. So I would
Mhm.
look at people sometimes and like, you really doing this? Like, oh, I need this money, this, that, and the other. It's like, do you realize what you carry inside yourself is gold? And yes, they do want everybody, but they have very specific criteria they're looking
Mhm.
for plasma donations. Who
Mhm.
has the best plasma? And they test it. We run it, we test all your stuff. Like, this one right here is great. So they will encourage and market plasma centers. Notice where they're put.
With a
They're
certain, yeah,
usually in low
yeah,
income areas that are
yeah.
predominantly made with others, people of color, mostly Black people or low income white people. So therefore, they can get and
Mhm.
hone in on that population to make money.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very much the
I question
same
all
thing.
things now.
But you kind of have to, because you like, okay, I need you to, like, you go every year, or we should be going to go, get checked out, and they
Yeah.
want a swab and they want to take
Yep.
blood,
And
and you have to ask, hey, what are you using this for? Just for your own testing? Are you just using it for my own testing?
but you couldn't but you can't verify it if you wanted to, because what they
No,
say you have to go with, right? You can't teach it
absolutely.
for the most
This
part.
is this is what you have to do, and this is just to make it a awareness to these things. But I want to come back to this, and in your words, what would you, out of this conversation that we've had today, what do you want to leave people with?
Okay. I actually wrote it down because
Good.
I know you, and I know me, and I might forget exactly what I wanted to say, but I wanted to express this part. If we just address Black maternal health, we improve standards for everybody,
Mhm.
right? For everybody across the board, right? But if we understand Black history and how it is integrated into American history, that will enrich our understanding of American democracy, of American resilience, and American possibility. So you cannot have American history without Black history, period. And anytime people want to have special groups, this is the part that stresses me out with the special groups. Oh, Black maternal health. No, this is American health.
Right.
Okay? America needs to understand that this is a public health crisis, right? And unless we're able to decipher where the root cause is, we just putting band-aids on a problem. And I mean
Right.
on a big gushing hemorrhage, right?
Right.
We'll
Right.
never be able to contain it. Black women will continue to die. Black babies will continue to die. Black men will continue to die. Black communities will continue to be disparaged and have a disparity. So we have to get to the root, and we have to stop allowing this conversation of racism to make us timid or to make us nervous or to make us what, not acknowledging the real problem. People like to say race is the problem. No, racism, period, full stop.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you. Because that is really, really what I want the heart of it to be. And also to add this piece of it. For the people who really believe this, and that you be like, that's the point. We want you to die. We want your community to go. Here's a little tip for you. It will never happen, because we will always be here. Through all that has been done to us, from enslavement to torture to rape,
Mhm.
for the birth of science, we are still here,
Yep.
and we are still thriving. This is why we have birth worker events and
Mhm.
conversations about this. Actually, in September 20th at the
Mhm.
Museum of Motherhood, we're having a mini conference on Black maternal health. So if you're interested in this topic, come see us. This
Mhm.
is not a Black event. This is an American event. This is
Mhm.
a cultural conversation about history, where we have great speakers such as Smella Joy, who works in the mental health aspect of it, Tracy Williams, who has a background in grief, and Tracy Cook Pearson, who has been a guest on here, who is a healer and
Mhm.
works in herbs, and will be discussing the grand midwives and the history of Black maternal health. So if you want to take a deep dive into actually be able to come and meet with me in person and have these conversations, come down, come learn something. It's going to be a brunch where that's a fundraising to have these conversations just like this. So for everyone, I hope that you can take away some beautiful information today. I hope you are uncomfortable. I hope this has moved you in a way. And if it doesn't, hopefully you'll take a look at yourself and wonder, why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why, after we seeing that this right here is a American issue,
Mm-hmm.
American history, and a major epidemic. Because if it's happening to us, and this is what I always love to bring to people's appointment, if you can come for me, what makes them stop from coming for you?
Right.
Just because it's us this time, if you remove us from the space, who do you think is the next in the line? Because there is no one else.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this through this over and over again. So you see what is happening to the Hispanic population and the
Mm-hmm.
immigrant population. And then who was here first? It was us. So this is a perpetual problem that you better hop on board and figure
Mm-hmm.
out how you're going to move in it, because they're going to need somebody else after they've tried to use this all up.
Mm-hmm.
And who else is it going to be but
Right.
you?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
well, Doc Lex, it is always a pleasure. You know, this space is always welcome to you. I always love the information you gain and the knowledge you help pour into people.
Thank you.
And, you know, always until next time. And to my guest, I love you. You are seen, you are heard, you are felt. And most importantly, you matter.
Mm-hmm.
You matter, you matter, you matter. No matter what no one says to you, you are what makes America great.
Mm-hmm.
By you being yourself, by you rising to the occasion, you are the greatest part of wherever you're from. Okay. So until next time, we love you. We see you. You guys have a great one. Take care, you guys.
Alrighty, we